2024. From boundless pride.
There's gold in Paris.
And astounding bravery.
The best in this state confronted one of the worst acts we've ever seen.
Dirty deals.
It's rotten to the core.
And horrific destruction.
We will fight until we achieve total victory.
Over the last 12 months, we've celebrated...
Unstoppable and unbeatable!
And mourned.
Please come home soon. I can't wait to see you.
As history's been made and repeated.
Look what happened. Is this crazy?
But where to begin this journey, looking back on the extraordinary year that was? Surely the best place to start is right here in Australia. Perhaps the most hopeful story of 2024 was one of the first to break.
The 2024 Australian of the Year is Professor Georgina Long and Professor Richard Scolyer.
For years, the world-leading cancer researchers had been saving lives from melanoma. But their work took an unexpected turn when Richard was diagnosed with a different kind of cancer, an incurable brain tumour.
The sort of subtype of brain cancer I've got is the worst one.
He's my very best friend, so to think of him dying is just awful.
Refusing to accept that this was a death sentence, Richard and Georgina did something radical. They decided to use everything they knew about skin cancer on his brain.
Here I am sitting in the ICU.
And the professor became the first patient in the world to undergo their experimental treatment.
As I often say, don't just lean in, leap in, and that's how you can make a big difference. And I think everyone should be bold and courageous to really make things happen. You can see the scar there.
It's been a tough road, but so far the results are promising. By May, Richard's tumour was gone. And while he's not yet cured, he's already lived longer than most people with his type of brain cancer.
It's incredible. Honestly, when we made Australians of the Year, I didn't think I'd be alive now. But we need to do more.
We do need to do more.
Another hero of 2024 came on a day of madness and great loss.
Mingling in the crowd of shoppers today, a man on a deadly mission.
It was April 13 when innocent shoppers were suddenly running for their lives. Inside Westfield at Sydney's Bondi Junction.
I could see he was holding a knife. It was a hunting knife about 30 centimetres long.
Oh my goodness. 40-year-old Joel Couchy was on a stabbing rampage on a Saturday afternoon.
We have a 9-month-old with multiple stab wounds to the abdomen.
This mother starts screaming really frantically.
It just helped with holding the baby and trying to compress the baby, and same with the mother, trying to compress the blood from stopping and calling an ambulance.
Couchy killed 6 people and injured 11. Carnage that could have been even more devastating if not for the courage of New South Wales Police Inspector Amy Scott.
He's up there.
The officer found the killer on level 5, and when he refused to surrender his knife, she shot him dead.
She entered the shopping centre by herself, not knowing what she would be confronted with.
I think there was something like 75 emergency responders who rushed to the scene. What do you think they thought they were attending?
Well, it was unclear. And that, of course, just signals the bravery that they were showing.
There was a huge public outpouring of grief, but it wasn't the only time we saw sadness like this in 2024.
Last night, a moment of silence for the mother still lost.
The Ballarat community wept and searched for missing mum Samantha Murphy. the 51-year-old went for a morning jog and never returned.
Mum, we love you so much and we miss you. And we need you at home with us. Please come home.
It took more than a month for police to charge Patrick Stevenson with Samantha's murder. The 23-year-old is the son of former AFL player Orrin Stevenson and has pleaded not guilty.
Well, there are still a lot more questions than answers in this mystery. The biggest one, where Samantha Murphy's body is.
It's a question New South Wales police have been able to answer for the families and friends of Jessie Baird and Luke Davies.
At Jessie Baird's Paddington Terrace, a growing pile of flowers replaced crime scene tape.
The young couple allegedly shot dead by former police officer Beau Lamar Condon, who Jessie had once dated. After his arrest, he directed investigators to Jessie and Luke's bodies, buried in surfboard bags at a rural property 200 kilometres away from their Sydney home.
We're very confident that we have located Luke and Jessie.
While Lamar Condon has a court case still ahead of him, 2024 brought a conclusion of sorts to another double death.
Greg Lynn, the pilot who went bush to hunt deer and wound up a killer.
The father of three was tried for the murders of missing campers Russell Hill and Carol Clay in the Victorian High Country. Lynn has always denied killing them and told the Supreme Court the couple died in a tragic accident after a fight over a drone.
I grabbed him, pulled him in, and he was still coming at me. He came down on top of me on the back.
In June, after 7 days of deliberations, the jury came back with an unusual decision. They found Lynn guilty of murdering Carol, but not Russell.
I'm angry with the result. It's new. We've only just found out, but the more I think about it, the more angry I get to the fact that it didn't have to be this way.
In Queensland, it was an unusual, cruel crime that caught the nation's attention.
He was sitting in front of me, my friend beside me and her little baby, and some guy came up behind us and poured a coffee all over his head.
The 9-month-old baby boy was left with serious burns.
I'm just having flashbacks all the time about what happened, and I wish that he had poured the coffee over me.
The attacker fled to China 6 days later, just 12 hours before police were able to confirm his identity.
Here or there, we just want to be punished.
You're happy and you know it, clap your hands.
As the little boy's parents wait for justice, so too do many Queensland families who fell victim to the state's youth crime crisis.
Victor White's wife, Vilene, stabbed and killed at her local shopping centre. Lee Lovell's wife, Emma, killed at their own home.
The seemingly unstoppable violence became a critical issue at the state election in October.
I have more than a slogan.
Oh my
Nobody...
I've written the legislation by the end of the year, it'll be law.
So you're going to
Queenslanders
fix
vote
it by
for
Christmas. No crime by Christmas.
If
it is not
Queenslanders
that
vote
simple,
for change...
Stephen Miles had been Premier for less than a year when he sent voters to the polls. But that proved long enough for them to decide he wasn't up to the job. Instead, electing former journalist David Crisafulli.
What history will show is that tonight was the turning corner of the youth crime crisis.
From politics to partying. It was impossible to miss Taylor Swift's touchdown for the Eras Tour in February.
It's amazing! So exciting!
The superstar caused traffic and flight chaos as Aussies flocked to sold-out shows in Melbourne and Sydney.
This has cost me a fortune, but it doesn't matter what you spend, Taylor. Like, see if you go to one show or if you go to 50 shows.
The following month, the eyes of the nation turned to the federal court for the judgment in Bruce Lerriman's defamation trial.
How humiliating is this for you?
He sued Brittany Higgins and Network 10 over allegations he'd raped Higgins at Parliament House in 2019.
I was crying the whole way through it. And he didn't speak to me the entire time. I just remember him, eventually, he stopped.
Tens of thousands of people tuned in to a live stream to watch Justice Michael Lee find, on the balance of probabilities, Lerriman is a rapist. A decision Lerriman is now appealing.
Having escaped the lion's den, Mr. Lerman made the mistake of coming back for his hat.
Mistakes were a long-running theme in the biggest news stories of 2024. In July, the CFMEU was forced to admit shocking misconduct within its ranks.
You've got standover going on, extortion going on, contracts being awarded that shouldn't be awarded, honest people being pushed out of the industry. It's a terrible state of affairs, and nobody's doing anything about it.
The fallout was extraordinary.
They want a scalp, and I'll give you a scalp.
CFMEU construction union boss John Setka resigned. The construction and general division of the union was put into administration, and more than 270 officials were sacked. Then, Mark Irving was given the enormous task of cleaning up the mess as the administrator.
I've got nothing to lose by pursuing all of these corrupt deals vigorously to the end without compromise.
But Mark Irving isn't the only one who got the biggest job of his life in 2024. On the world stage, the newly elected leaders of the US and the UK did too. In more than 2 centuries, American democracy has never ceased to surprise. 2024 didn't disappoint.
Welcome. Thank you very much, and thank you very much.
For the first time ever, we saw a president preparing to hand power back to his predecessor.
Politics is tough, and it's, in many cases, not a very nice world, but it is a nice world today, and I appreciate very much a transition that's so smooth. It'll be as smooth as it can get.
Even those who hoped for a Trump victory never imagined his win would be this big.
This is a huge achievement for Donald Trump.
We just witnessed the greatest political comeback in the history of the United States of America.
Look what happened. Is this crazy?
What was perhaps most surprising about Trump's soaring success is that it followed a campaign saturated by scandal.
I want you to consider this. Indicted 91 times, convicted more than 30 times, impeached twice, accused of sexual assault, accused of lying to the American people. We've never had this from a losing candidate, and we just had someone with all of this baggage elected president of the United States.
The 78-year-old didn't just beat controversy on his way back to the Oval Office. He also survived 2 assassination attempts. First, in July, at a campaign rally in Pennsylvania. Then again in September, on his golf course in Florida. Trump was left stunned and injured, but the violence certainly didn't hurt his chances with voters.
I'm not supposed to be here tonight.
In fact, he capitalised on it.
I probably took a bullet to the head because of the things that they say about me.
I can't help but wonder, why didn't law enforcement officials arrest the shooter before the speech? There is definitely more to this story.
Kamala, you're fired! Get out of here! You're fired!
While tens of thousands of Americans regularly turned out to see Trump in action, his opponent, Kamala Harris, played the celebrity card.
What do we always say? Keep Kamala and carry on a lot.
From Taylor Swift and Eminem.
This election, I'm casting my ballot
for Kamala Harris.
to Harrison Ford.
She's a real phenomenon right now.
And George Clooney. The Vice President had plenty of friends in Tinseltown.
To the next President of the United States, Vice President Kamala Harris.
But the heroes of Hollywood were nowhere near enough for Harris.
Are we ready to vote? Are we ready to win?
The 60-year-old couldn't shake criticism for being light on policy and, most of all, heavily involved in the increasingly unpopular Biden administration.
It is an FU to those in charge over the last 4 years that promised to unite the country and didn't, promised to hear the voices of the unheard and didn't, and finally they just said FU.
The Democrats' focus on women's reproductive rights failed to cut through, while the Republicans' tough stance on issues like immigration and cost of living had a huge impact, even when things turned bizarre.
In Springfield, they're eating the dogs, the people that came in. They're eating the cats. They're poisoning the blood of our country. That's what they've done. I didn't know she was black until a number of years ago when she happened to turn black, and now she wants to be known as black.
He unravelled at the end of the campaign.
And yet the public still said, I'd rather have Trump unraveled and unplugged than Harris focused and determined. Because in the end, she didn't get, she didn't understand, she couldn't feel America.
This will truly be the golden age of America. That's what we have to have.
On America's National Day, July 4, it was the United Kingdom that decided to bring in a fresh face.
Change. We need change.
The Tories have completely buggered up the country.
After 14 years of Conservative leadership, Brits had had enough of the Tories and handed Labor's Keir Starmer a landslide victory.
We did it! Change begins now.
It was a crushing defeat for Rishi Sunak.
We have never seen an electoral collapse like this.
The 43-year-old became the face of the Tories' worst result in history.
To the country, I would like to say first and foremost, I am sorry.
The outgoing PM left Downing Street humiliated. But his replacement received a hero's welcome. Starmer was the fourth Prime Minister to walk through the doors in 2 years. The former Director of Public Prosecutions arrived straight from the palace, where he'd formally accepted the King's invitation to form government. Much like Trump, a huge part of Starmer's job will unfold outside his country's borders on the world stage. And the biggest global issue of all is war. If there's one thing most people wish there was less of in 2024, it's war. What started in Gaza and Israel has now spread to Lebanon, Syria, and Iran. Heartbreaking and horrific scenes at every turn.
We will fight until we achieve victory, total victory.
Although the Middle East is a long way from Australia, our government paid close attention.
War has rules. Every country in this room must abide by them.
And pushed to resolve the mounting conflict.
Because a two-state solution is the only hope of breaking the endless cycle of violence.
But pressure from other countries and even the International Court of Justice seemed to make no difference.
The state of Israel's continued presence in the occupied territory is unlawful.
On both sides, the violence only intensified. In September, thousands of people were killed and injured by a type of warfare no one saw coming. Pages and walkie-talkies used by Hezbollah exploded in Lebanon and across the border in Syria. It was a dramatic attack carried out by Israel. But Hezbollah's leader emerged defiant.
The Israeli enemy was aiming to kill no less than 5,000 people in 2 minutes. The enemy crossed all the rules and laws and red lines.
Just days later, the terrorist boss was killed by an Israeli airstrike in Beirut. It was one of several assassinations targeting senior figures of Hezbollah and Hamas. And in October, Iran retaliated, firing a barrage of ballistic missiles into Israel.
Iran made a big mistake tonight, and it will pay for it. Whoever attacks us, we will attack him.
Israeli forces claimed their greatest victory yet when they killed Hamas leader Yahya Sinwar.
We said we would find him and bring him to justice, and we did it.
Sinwar was the mastermind of the attack on Israel on October 7 last year that triggered this war. Despite the bloodshed since then, there have been some moments of relief. More than 100 Israeli hostages have been freed, some through diplomatic means and some through force.
While under fire on the way out from Gaza, our forces rescued our hostages.
We'll do whatever it takes to get them all back home.
And over in Lebanon, thousands of people were able to flee, including plane loads of Australians.
I just want to say thank you, Australia. You got us back home safe. We're very heartbroken. We're very exhausted after 3 days non-sleep. But at least now I know my kids are safe.
The greatest relief of all came late last month when Israel and Hezbollah agreed to a ceasefire.
Today is a new day. We hope it carries peace and stability.
The truce in Lebanon has renewed hope for peace in Gaza, while in Syria, the future is uncertain.
The tyrant Bashar al-Assad has been overthrown.
Last week, rebel forces ousted the nation's dictator, Bashar al-Assad, putting an end to more than half a century of the Assad family's brutal rule and 14 years of civil war. Cause for celebration for many, but also concern over how the new leaders will reshape the region.
51 people have been killed and more than 200 injured in one of the deadliest attacks on Ukraine since the Russian invasion.
2024 was the third year of Russia's attack on Ukraine.
This war can end today. It could, if Russia would stop the war that they started.
The Kremlin's huge advantage has been manpower, even though it loses thousands of troops for every Ukrainian town it takes. But despite huge setbacks in some areas, Ukraine has gained ground in others.
Glory to Ukraine! Glory to heroes, soldiers yell.
In August, their forces crossed into Russia. It was the first time the country had been invaded since World War II.
Ukraine is proving that it really knows how to restore justice and guarantee pressure on the aggressor.
The aggressor is Russian President Vladimir Putin. In Moscow, it's a crime to defy him. But that's exactly what thousands of people did to mourn former opposition leader Alexei Navalny. The 37-year-old died behind bars in a Russian penal colony in February. His death was unexplained, but many blamed Putin.
This only proves to the whole world that the Kremlin's regime disregard for human life goes actually way beyond the life of a person.
Ukraine's ability to defeat Putin depends almost entirely on the support of other countries, especially the United States.
It's going to make America safer. It's going to make the world safer.
Incoming President Donald Trump has gone much further than his predecessor.
If I'm president, I will have that war settled in one day, 24 hours.
There are not details. It would probably mean a lot more pressure on Ukraine to settle, to renounce its claims to its own territory. The United States cannot make peace for Ukraine, so that is a decision that will be made in Kyiv, not in Washington.
But there's no denying the decisions Trump makes in the White House will have huge repercussions around the world. He'll also be responsible for negotiating peace between Israel and Gaza.
We are with Israel 100%. Thank you, baby. Thank you.
And he'll have to manage the rise of China.
Trump has an affinity towards authoritarian leaders. There is no doubt about that. He likes the trappings of power. He likes the back and forth of great power politics.
It was a momentous image, not just for 2024, but for all time. Charles and Camilla on the steps of the Sydney Opera House on their only foreign tour outside Europe as King and Queen. The couple has never been more popular.
Your biggest supporter. Great honour to see you.
But it hasn't been an easy year. In February, just 9 months into his reign, the King was diagnosed with cancer.
The thoughts of all Australians are with King Charles and his family.
Exactly which type of cancer remains unknown. But it was picked up during a corrective procedure to treat a benign enlarged prostate.
I've spoken to someone who knows the family well, and she said, look, I can't give you the exact details, but it is an aggressive cancer, and everyone is really worried because it's not something that's going to be easy to treat.
While the King was off duty recovering, news broke of another serious illness in the royal family. This time, it was the Princess of Wales.
The whole nation is now asking the question, where is Kate?
She hadn't been seen in public since Christmas 2023 and took extended time off after having abdominal surgery in January.
Sure, disaster. Wait, there's a lot to unpack there.
There is. Catherine's prolonged absence fueled intense and, at times bizarre, speculation about what on earth could be wrong.
Where is Kate Middleton? Where are you, Kate? Some people think she's dead.
I think that she's in a coma, she's had a facelift.
Usually with these things, it's much better to be open about it, because if you don't say what's going on, you just invite people to speculate.
The rumours escalated even more when Prince William missed this special occasion, his godfather's memorial service in February. Then there was the Photoshop fiasco that saw a doctored image of Kate and her children released to the public.
If you're going to Photoshop it, Photoshop your ring on.
Well, all it's done is add to these conspiracy theorists.
Well, this is all very strange.
The hysteria became so wild,
the royals have body doubles.
The palace had no choice but to finally come clean.
She's gone. No one knows where she is.
And the truth was devastating. Like the King, the 42-year-old princess had cancer.
This, of course, came as a huge shock. And William and I have been doing everything we can to process and manage this privately for the sake of our young family.
It was a heartfelt appeal for some peace and privacy. And it worked.
She was saying it because she felt there was no other way round. I mean, we still don't know what kind of cancer that Kate is suffering from. And obviously she doesn't feel that she has to tell us that. And why should she?
For everyone facing this disease, in whatever form, please do not lose faith or hope. You are not alone.
With both his wife and father battling cancer, William stepped up.
Can I ask how Princess Kate is?
There were plenty of well-wishes from members of the public, and even some from his estranged brother. Prince Harry stopped in to see his dad on a trip back to London from his home in California.
I love my family. The fact that I was able to get on a plane and go and see him and spend any time with him, I'm grateful for that.
As the months rolled on, the royals were well overdue for some good news.
Is this filming? Hello.
And it finally came in September. Kate was cancer-free.
This time has above all reminded William and me to reflect and be grateful for the simple yet important things in life, which so many of us often take for granted.
While the princess has finished her chemotherapy, the king's cancer treatment continues. He did, though, hit pause for a few days in October, when he travelled with the Queen to Australia and Samoa. Now 76, it's likely this was the monarch's final trip down under.
Good luck with all your dreaded exams and things. You can always blame us if you fail.
Travelling from London to Sydney is a long journey.
There he is.
And for Julian Assange, it was long awaited. In June, the WikiLeaks founder finally made it home. His wife, Stella, thrilled to have him back.
We weren't allowed to kiss in Belmarsh prison, so it was the best day of my life.
The 53-year-old had been locked up in the London jail for more than 5 years, fighting extradition to America, where he faced 17 espionage charges. To secure his freedom, he pleaded guilty to just one.
How does it feel to be a free man, Mr. Assange?
On his way back to Australia as a convicted spy, Assange stopped in Saipan, a US Pacific territory, where he was sentenced to time already served. Assange is now rediscovering life on the outside with his wife and their 2 little boys.
I am yet not fully equipped to speak about what I have endured, the relentless struggle to stay alive, both physically and mentally.
He's pushing for a pardon from the US president, claiming his conviction is a threat to free speech.
Journalism is not a crime. It is a pillar of a free and informed society.
Assange's story is far from over, like many we heard in 2024. In some cases, the next chapter will be written by the courts. Others will be in the hands of world leaders. And then there's those moments none of us will predict. For the best reasons and the worst. Images as impossible to foresee as they are to forget. Hello, I'm Amelia Adams. Thanks for watching 60 Minutes Australia. Subscribe to our channel now for brand new stories and exclusive clips every week. And don't miss out on our extra minute segments and full episodes of 60 Minutes on 9now.com.au and the 9Now app.